was always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags. It's your host, King Whale. This is your number one podcast for everything Jacksonville, everything Jaguars, everything Duval. Guys, we are celebrating this week. We are celebrating. I swear, I got to get these out a little bit closer to the week. I apologize. I've been busy, just been so crazy busy. But we are celebrating because the Jaguars have snapped the skid. We have snapped the streak. And before we talk about like the good things and the ugly things and everything that came across from this loss, let's just take a second, right? We are going to take a second and appreciate we have not beat the Houston Texans at home in almost 10 years. Think about that. Almost 10 years. Last time it was in 2017 when Blake Bortles was our quarterback. We've gone through 3 starting quarterbacks since then. I barely graduated high school last time we beat the Texans at home. We have snapped the skid. And that, to me, is the number one thing that we should take away from this game. It may seem like an ugly win. It may be gritty. Maybe the Texans aren't as good or whatever. But we snapped it. And it's not like, and the players that beat us at home the last couple of years, these are the same players that are on the Texans, right? CJ Stroud has beat us twice at home. Will Anderson is on that team. You know, Danielle Hunter is also on that team. So it's not like the Texans are just tanking this year, right? Like they were expected to be contenders, and we snapped their streak of beating us at home. So that's the first thing I want every Jaguars fan to think about when we think about this game, because that's the most important thing. I feel like that matters, right? Because this is huge. This is something we've struggled with, beating the Texans in our building. The Colts haven't won at Everbank since 2014. The Texans have beat us in our own building for almost 10 years straight. So that's something that we just need to sit back and reflect on and appreciate, because that's something that Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence and that fantastic defense were able to deliver for us that we haven't had in quite some time, right? So let's delve into the game. We're going to talk about the game, what went right, what went wrong. Obviously, more went right than what went wrong because we ended up with the dub, right? But we're going to break down the game. Then we're going to talk about what is going to spill over into how we could potentially use that to steal one against the 49ers in San Francisco. So, Houston Texans, this season, I thought they were going to be a good team. I thought they were going to win the division. And honestly, it's not over for them. I think people look at the schedules and kind of overreact. And especially with the way the media moves so quickly, you know, if you don't start your season by winning games, you kind of get written off, right? But remember, at one point in the season that we made the playoffs, we were 4-8 at one point. We were literally 4-8, right? So it's week 3. Let's not write off the Houston Texans just yet. I mean, we're approaching week 4. The Houston Texans aren't dead in the water. Now, they're not great, right? And we're in a much better spot than they are. But honestly, if the Jaguars opened up our schedule against the Rams and Buccaneers, and then we face the Texans, we might be 1-2, or we might be 0-3 as well, right? Like, they were facing tough teams, but that's what happens when you have a first-place schedule. Instead of playing the Buccaneers, we played the Panthers. So that helped us get our season started off on the right foot. So, again, not to make excuses for the Texans, but I see a lot of people burying them and say, I don't think they're as bad of a team as people think, because the defense is fantastic. The problem is just, I don't know why the Texans thought trading away their best offensive line player was going to help. And I don't know what the locker room tension was, or like that Laramie Tunsil was a cancer, or whatever the narrative was. But that's a cancer you got to solve, right? Because Josh Allen abused that Texans offensive line all day, and it was beautiful. And I really do think Trevor Walker is starting to really come into his own as a pass rusher. And honestly, like, we should have won I keep going back to how many ways that we should have won that Bengals game. That one we just gave away. Now, this one we tried to give it away, but we didn't, right? We held on to get the win. And I'm praying that the case of the dropsies has been solved. The thing I don't understand with the Jaguars is why it's always a new thing at the beginning of every season. We have some new problem when we think we'll be fine, and then it's just a random issue just pops up. Like in 2023, our defense fell off, and then in 2024, we had other random issues. And this year, we start the year, and everybody's just dropping the ball, something that we hadn't really struggled with as badly as a team in the past 2 or 3 years. And now suddenly our best receiver is dropping the ball all over the place. And now it's contagious because Parker Washington and another player, I think Hunter Long, were also dropping passes. At one point, we dropped like 4 passes in a row. And you just give us half of our dropped catches back, right? Trevor, like, it would change our entire season. Trevor would have like 10 touchdowns to like 3 interceptions. He'd have more yards, way better completion percentage, and we'd be 3-0. Like, it's just that simple. Like, we were able to survive this game because the Houston Texans offense is so inept. And I'll talk more about our defense and how well we're playing, but I think my prayer is that Brian Thomas Jr., if he's cured of his drop problems, I think it's going to keep it from getting to the whole team. And I think with the game on the line, and this is my favorite part about the entire game, because the game was on the line. I think, like, if we're going to have any success this season, I feel like this is something that we needed to happen. Because with the game on the line, we needed a big play to spark us and not just energize us to go to finish out the game, but like energize our defense too. That, like, hey, we got your back. We're gonna keep like this is complimentary football, Because when an offense hits a big play and then the defense comes out, that can energize them. And when the defense hits a big play and the offense comes out, that can energize them. So, and I'm glad that Liam Cohen, I love the way that he tells the media everything that's going on and what's happening, because Liam Cohen let everyone know that last play, one of the last plays, the biggest play that we had all game, 46 yards to Brian Thomas Jr. It was originally a run play, which makes sense because even though the Texans were blocking the run pretty well, we stuck to it and we were able to get some runs in the second quarter. And our running backs aren't dropping the ball, right? But our receivers are. So it makes sense to go to a run. Trevor Lawrence checked out of it. At this point, Trevor has about a 50% completion percentage for the whole game. Actually, no, at this point, Trevor's completion percentage is less than 50. He has just came back from throwing an interception after getting 5 passes were dropped, right? And now, here he is, game on the line, checks out of the run, and goes to a pass play. And he puts it up to his guy, Brian Thomas Jr. He throws him the ball right in stride, so Brian Thomas Jr. can keep running with it, and we get the first down. And we get an excellent position to get the game-winning touchdown. That is the kind of thing that we need, that I feel like could potentially cure Brian Thomas Jr. of his drops. And if that cures him, that could cure our entire team. And I would love that. That would be beautiful. But because Trevor put it in his hands, he said, I still trust you to go win this. Because the Travis Etienne run, obviously, like, that was the ceiling game. But like, that play was what won us the game. It wasn't necessarily over after that, but that was when we took the momentum and said, no, we are not giving this game away like we did in Cincinnati. And like we've done all last year. All last year was just giving away games, because people forget how close we were in some of these games. And to me, if that doesn't fix Brian Thomas Jr., nothing else will. And we'll just have to start looking at a new wide receiver pecking order, and wide receiver will be our number one need in the offseason next year, which is something that was supposed to be our strength. But either way. So let me know what you think. If the Jaguars have a chance of beating the 49ers, what do you think about the Jaguars win over the Texans and everything going forward? And never forget, it was always the Jags.